pockets with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready? Who ready?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining us at the One-on-One Sports Show. We have Mr. Bennett on here, and me, I'm Shawnee. Dante, he won't be able to join us today. He got some family things. His brother, signing day for his brother, so congrats to him.
Yeah, very much so. Congrats.
So I think he's way up there in Kansas right now. So he ain't in Texas anymore.
Yeah, I heard that. How you been?
Fine, man. I'm over here, got this Knicks Indy game in the background.
Always multitasking. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we can certainly get into that. Speaking of the NBA, but first of all, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Sorry for the late start, but hopefully you guys will chime in. We've got some exciting topics to talk about tonight, and hopefully we can certainly give you some valuable content. So we appreciate you coming through. But we are certainly in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and certainly as Shawnee said, the Knicks are playing the Pacers tonight at the Madison Square Garden after somewhat of a controversial into game one. With about 51 seconds left, there was a call of a kick ball. So it was a tie game. I think it was tied at 115. And there was a kick ball, or at least ruled a kick ball. Replay showed that it clearly wasn't. I think the league actually came out with a statement saying that they got it wrong. And then you had on the TNT crew, they were debating it and saying that there needs to be some new rules put in terms of replays and whatnot, almost similar to that what you see in the NFL. That if one proposal was, if you get 2 challenges a game, and if you win both of your challenges, you get another one. I think that's how the NFL works. I think currently, or if you issue a challenge and you fail, then it's a technical foul that the other team can shoot free throws on. So I don't know, Shawnee, did you see the play, and what did you think of that? The way
I
that
saw
ended?
the play. It was several missed calls during that. Really, what the final 2 minutes of that game?
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks, they've been getting some home cooking in the playoffs with these controversial calls. Because there was a big one versus the Sixers, and that, I don't know, that possibly could have. I think the Sixers maybe would have won that series because the way that series went on. But yeah, this one they had. I don't really. Yeah, a quick replay would have solved that real quick about the kick ball, but it really was just it hit his hand.
Right.
But that refs make mistakes on that one, so I don't know why it's not reviewable, but I guess.
Yeah, they say only, I think, fouls are reviewable. Turnovers, I think, are also are reviewable, but for some reason the kick ball is somehow out of play there. But I would think, but certainly in a playoff game under 2 minutes, you would think that they would have a lot more things that would be
they're so worried about not slowing the game down.
Yeah. But that was clearly.
People got to remember, we at home, we have the benefit of replay.
Yeah.
Refs, especially if it's not a reviewable play, they don't. So a lot of this live.
I mean, that's the gray area that that they may need to reconsider. That as a coach. Or as a team, do you give them? And again, I'm not as familiar with what the current rules are now. How many challenges, if at all, that a team currently gets? But in that situation, certainly being able to challenge something like that in that moment, because you figure you're not going to seldom are you going to use any of your major challenges in the certainly not in the first half. You're probably going to want to save those if it's a close game. You're going to probably want to save those towards the end of the game anyway. So I could certainly see if they wanted to have something like under 2 minutes or whatever, where the game is tight, you want to hold on to those. If you're gonna, but at least give them one, and you should be able to challenge pretty much on anything. Whether the guy stepped out of bounds, was his foot on the line, was his, or especially on a 3-point shot, all that stuff should be, or like I said, a potential turnover, or foul. Now fouls that gets a little dicey, but I know they review, like if you're in the box, whether or not it's a charge or a foul. I know they'll review those as well. So if they're willing to take those on, you would think they'd be able to take on something like that, where it seems to be obvious. Like I said, the fact that the NBA admits that they got it wrong, that's definitely something that they may need to revisit.
Because the whole who was that? Forgot his name real quick, but the illegal screen, I guess, that it wasn't really that bad. I thought DiVincenzo did a hell of an acting job when he had that one screen. I'm like, come on, because I think about 40 seconds earlier was he tried to do a screen towards half court, and you can literally see him hooking the defender.
Yeah.
And all that, and, that was not called.
Right.
So when what's his name? The Pacers big man. I just forgot his name.
Oh, Siakam.
Not even Siakam. The other one. It just slipped my mind. But
Turner. Was it Turner?
Yes, Turner.
Right.
He was the one who was setting the screen, and then I guess, which I knew when they came out with the 2-minute report earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Was it earlier today or yesterday? They came out, was like it was a legit moving screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the wrong call as far as the letter of the law,
mm-hmm.
but it was so tiny. Like I was hearing other sports shows mentioning it was a similar call like that in the women's finals
mm-hmm.
game when Iowa, they semifinals really.
So that was LSU then, Iowa LSU.
Yeah. So yes, is it a foul? But the biggest thing is, especially if that foul and the previous game one with Knicks and Pacers, that screen foul wasn't really called during the game. Hell, as I said, DiVincenzo was his half court type screen that he hooked the defender. They didn't call that, so all of a sudden now you want to call this in the last 30 seconds of the game,
right?
And he flopped, and I heard somebody say he lucky that it got called a flop because Turner, he had options. He had an open lane or he had an open jumper because DiVincenzo wanted to flop and he on the floor.
Yeah.
So he was bailed out when they called a foul because they saying what's his name? The head coach, he would have got pissed off on him because you too busy trying to draw this foul. You just left this dude wide open who can easily can this shot.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now it's at the last seconds of the game. So he got the call. So, but I think it's going to be a good series.
It's played very tightly up wire. I mean, I thought Indiana was in control for like three and a half quarters. They were in control of the game, and they just kind of lost it a little bit late. I thought
they never had a defense. They could score. They don't have a defense.
Right. But it seemed like the Knicks had problems also. They couldn't, like Siakam, they couldn't stop him. I mean, he was not only scoring wise, he was able to distribute the ball. He seemed like he was definitely the center of the offense. And but guys couldn't hit shots down the stretch, and the Knicks got hot also with the 3-point shot late in the game as well. So that game definitely could have went, like I said, definitely could have went a couple different ways. But again, Knicks got the victory here, and actually they were up 11, so Pacers just went on the run, so they're tied at 24 with 2:52 left in the first quarter. So so we might be in for another wire-to-wire game. Now, this is probably the only series, when you think about it, this might be the only one. Because when we look at these other series that are going on, I mean, Celtics, they pretty much handled their business. I know the Cavs, I know they didn't have Jared Allen, but at the same time, Celtics didn't play Porzingis. Yeah. But they blew those guys out by 25. So this Indiana series with the Knicks might be the only competitive one that has a chance of going 6 or 7 games. But everything else seems pretty dominant at this point.
I still think the Nuggets and the Timberwolves series can.
You really think so? I'm thinking this is a wrap.
Well, I guess we can move on to that one. Game 2, as I was watching, the Nuggets was just too frustrated to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could see it on. I mean, I know people talking about the Jamal Murray where he threw 2 items on the court.
Yeah.
Back in March, Rudy Gobert did the money sign towards a ref, and he got fined $100K. Well,
Right.
Jamal Murray, he did all 3. He threw 2 things on the court, and he did the
that could have
money
been
thing.
because and he threw a heating pad on the floor.
Yeah, he
if
threw
one
a
of those
heating
guys
pad.
slipped on that pad,
He threw a foul that landed directly right behind the ref.
Yeah.
But the ref, thankfully, he took a step forward. If he would have taken a step back, he who knows what happened to him. So, but he only got $100K fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know they're considering his pass was as clean. So
I know, but I understand it's the playoffs, but still, something like that, I think you got to give, because if that was Draymond, he definitely would have got
but the thing about this is unprecedented territory. You can't remember last time when a player usually got to worry about fans
hurling stuff on the floor. No, it's at least unless the game. Well, I mean, I know the game's a blowout and everything like that, but again, usually when a player does that, he's ejected and he has to leave the court.
He got no tech, no.
So I think they definitely missed that one. But having said that,
I was surprised what's the name to get a tech. All got thrown out when Malone got all up in
and that was
face.
weird though. I know he was upset they didn't get the call one. I guess they got the call on the other side, but it's like it's so early in the game. Your team's already down.
Anthony Edwards, he threw the foul, but his knee hit KCP like in the midsection, and he was crumpled on. So when they called timeout right after that play, that's when Malone made a beeline to that ref, and they both was just yapping at each other, but he didn't get he got no tech.
It was but having said all that, they had no Rudy Gobert, which is a subject in and of itself. I want to certainly broach this subject, and certainly for those in the chat, I'd love to hear your comments on this one as well. But obviously, Rudy Gobert didn't even play, and they still blew them out. And he picked up his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Okay, I think he tied a record for his 4th.
I think Dwight Howard has 4.
Yeah. So he wasn't there. He had the birth of his child. Congratulations. But I don't know if you heard the comments of Gilbert Arenas. Did you hear?
He should have went to the game because the baby will be there.
Yeah. So there's a quote from Arenas. He says, "It's a baby, bro. It's gonna be there when you get back home."
I was like, man. I think there was some, because I was like, man, a firstborn trumps a game. Because it's just one game. You have a chance to, even if they would have lost the game, you still had a chance to come back. It's a series.
Yeah, but
it's not football.
That's the question. Now, again, this is not a game.
But I think before, so the game was in Denver. He had the baby was born, because I heard some people say the baby was born early in the day. He still could have made it. The baby was in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was weather and something travel related that, because I believe if it was like a smooth day, I believe he would have, attended the birth of his kid and made it back to the game. But I think it was some travel disruptions, I think combined with the weather and the plane or whatnot, that they say you just stay there, because it wasn't good conditions for him to come back to Denver.
Yeah, well, it's just funny. I mean, Gilbert, you talk about unfiltered. He will say just about anything. I thought Draymond was bad, but Gilbert, he says, "Bro, she in the hospital with great doctors. Take your goofy butt down there." So no, but that's the thing. Now you say
it's your first kid.
Okay, but all right. So let's measure the stakes then. All right, let's even have it in the debate. I don't know if we can get a poll on this. All right, so playoffs, whether it be first round, second round, conference finals, NBA finals. You're in it. You're there. The birth of your child's coming up. Do you play? Do you stay with your team? Or do you be with the mother of your child and the child? So I don't know. We could maybe get a poll going. I don't know what people may think about that. But I don't know. That's a tough one. Knowing my wife, she would probably say, play the game or whatever. I got this or whatever. That's just that's kind of how my wife rolls on it or whatever. But I think a lot of that's going to be dependent on your lady. You got to know. Yeah. Black man saying, what would Kobe and Mike do? Well, again, I don't think neither one of those guys would be father of the year candidates. So
I don't think she's his wife.
know, especially MJ.
Yeah, I don't even know if she's his wife. So
MJ had no soul, man. So I don't know if I don't know if MJ is the barometer that you want to measure something like that on. Brother Trey Ferg, what's going on, sir? How are you?
Yeah, fellas, going
man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. So, the question on the floor. It's the playoffs, right? And you got a game's important game or whatever, the birth of your child. Do you stay with your team, or do you go be with the baby? Kobe and Mike, yeah, exactly. They would definitely say that. I don't know if we want to use that as a barometer, but what say you, Trey, on that in that situation?
This is his first child, isn't it?
First, yeah. May not be his last, and you know, you got my man Gilbert Arenas saying, "Look, she's with the best doctors in the world, or whatever. You there? The baby's gonna be asleep anyway. That baby's not gonna remember this moment." But here it is. Even though your team won by 25, if they lost that game, you know how it is. You go into that locker room, and God's gonna be looking at you. You just won your Defensive Player of the Year award, so they definitely gonna need you, especially with a guy like Jokic. You got to defend. So look, hey, you know, all that sounds nice, but when your dogs need you and you're not there, what you gonna do, bro?
Listen, it's happened before with other players, so I give them a pass on that. Other players be out for other reasons, but from what I've seen, it might be over in 5.
Yeah. Sort of led with that. Now, Shawnee's of the idea. Now, again, they lost their first at home,
but
to come back is one thing to come back from 0-2, but come back 0-2 and you got beat both times in your home court, convincingly.
And to Minnesota's credit is that they had the 6th man of the year, so you lose a couple of blocks, but you gain more points because he scores more than Rudy Gobert. And with him and Townsend able to rebound in the team that they have, I think, okay. But you can also argue, okay, listen, it ain't your damn wife. It's a little girlfriend, baby.
Oh man, you taking that car? I was expecting that one.
But I'm just saying though, because like, what if they lost? Then what? What if they lost? So
I think some players.
That's a gray area
when it
right
comes
there.
to family, they understand that. Like I said, because this is basketball, it's not football, so they understand. Because what happened if somebody would have lost a loved one? Well, technically, they loved one is not living no more, so you got who you gonna see. But but they miss some games. You don't hear the teammates getting on them. So, because firstborn. That's why I just keep mentioning this firstborn, because that's your first kid. Now, once you have kid 2,
yeah, but
3,
if you're gonna have 6, 7, 8 kids, does the first
by that time you be like, okay, you may, because I've seen players, if it's the next kid and so on, they be like, okay, we can come. Even their spouse be like, you can go play your game and come back.
Man.
But I guess it's something about your firstborn.
See, and that's why that's why we got all this dysfunction in families, man. See, all that sibling rivalry and stuff is from the beginning. See, I was there for you, but I wasn't there for the others. So it just causes too many problems, man.
I was surprised at just how, because at the end of the day, it's really, it's really just up to the athlete. I mean, if you're gonna be there for your kid's birth, you'll figure people understand that. But it was just so much people who had the opposite reaction. Like, damn, man, it's not like he just stayed away. He overslept. He had to go back home for his birth of his first kid. If there's any excuse to miss a game, because you can't control when a kid come out. So if there's any excuse to miss a game, a birth of your child or a death of a loved one, you'll think those will automatically get a pass. But like I mentioned, the kid was born early in the day, and I think I read somewhere that the reason why he couldn't get back to Denver, because again he was in Minnesota, was a combination of weather and traveling obstacles.
So would you hold it against it if there wasn't a travel restriction? He just wanted to stay back. Would you?
I would have like, this is a birth of your first kid.
Okay, all right.
It's basically because professional athletes, you always hear them saying "next man up." That's the mindset they have to do. And wasn't Nas Reed? He definitely stepped up. That dude was playing. Of course, he was scoring because he won 6 Man of the Year, right? Yeah. Well, he put the defense on Jokic this game too. So it's like, you missed this defensive player of the year, but he was like, he must have been taking notes. So Gobert must have been sending him some pointers via text, because he damn near locked down Jokic. That's why the game got out of hand as it did. Yeah. And that's why they was getting so frustrated.
Right.
Yeah, man. So they were able to make do, because next man stepped up.
I'm a little more. I guess I'm a little more nuanced with it. It depends on the day of the week I'm on. I might be 4 days a week. You stay with the kid, and 3 days a week you play the game. But again, like if they were down 0-1, that might be a different situation. I mean, but the fact that they won so convinced, it seems like they have the series in hand. It's a lot of different factors there. But that'd be a good barbershop conversation. Maybe we can bring that up.
But also, here's another thing. He's not from America, so their culture, this could be a priority with every job.
Yeah, but if anything, if you saw it in COVID, a lot of them European countries, they do put family people first.
Yeah, right.
America, there's no secret. America put
in America, they like F them damn kids.
Yeah, they would sacrifice anything just to make extra.
It might not be mine, or
absolutely.
Yeah, they would sacrifice anything to make that extra. So he's French, so.
This Knicks game is, it's like it's going to be pretty competitive. It was 36 all at the end of the first quarter. Early in the second, it's 40 all. So it's like they're putting up some shots here. So like I said, this might be the only one, because we just talked about the Minnesota series. I think we're headed for a gentleman's sweep, if not a full sweep. But I may give them the grace to say a gentleman's sweep in 5. I just don't see how they're going to be coming back from this. Celtics, they seem to have their series in hand. I think Cleveland, I don't think they have the firepower. And Derek White, he's been playing on another level, with his 3-point shooting, certainly as of late also. And like I said, they're doing this without Porzingis. So it seems like the Celtics, they got that series in hand. And then, with the Mavericks and the Thunder, again, blowout win. Win for the.
That's a styles make fight type match right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that one seems to be. We'll see how the Mavericks respond. Usually, I don't want to. Going into it, I may have favored the Thunder going in, but I wasn't sure on how many games. But obviously, I'll be paying close attention to how the Mavericks respond in Game 2, and see if they could make this a competitive series. But outside of that, like I said, I think the Knicks series is the only one that is worth tuning in and watching. It seems like so far it's an entertaining.
You think OKC is going to sort of sweep Dallas?
Nah.
I wouldn't say so. I would give it. I could see it going 6, but because again they came out flat. They kind of came out flat in the in the last series against L.A. the Clippers. And they came back and sort of put things together. So again, I got to see what they're gonna do. I'll still make the Thunder the favorites, but we just have to see what happens.
You can't really count a blowout win. A blowout win or a blowout loss.
I mean, everything just went perfect.
It's like opposite oranges. Like they'll come back game 2 and probably blow Thunder out. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the NBA playoffs.
That's why you hear players say they can get over a blowout faster than a close game. Like that loss. Yeah. With the Pacers in the Knicks game 1,
right.
I'll imagine they can't do that, but I'll imagine that will stick with the Pacers longer than the Mavs and OKC game. But because OKC is the better defensive team and they have ball movement, Mavericks. What I don't like, it reminds me of my Rockets back in the day with Harden.
Too much ISO. Too much ISO.
But this time it's just basically between Luka and Kyrie.
Right.
Your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Then they'll find a dude on the wing for an open 3. it's worked, and they have good rebounding because that's OKC's weakness is they defensive rebound.
Right.
Now if they making their shots, then of course that they when they ball move they'll give them the hand. But I think if Dallas may start getting a little bit more physical with them, because I think they are bigger.
Right.
They it'll be a different game. So that's the thing about the playoffs, man. You got me in game one. They just gonna go right back in that film room, start making the adjustments, and we're gonna see how you're gonna react once we make the adjustments. And then that's when the series. I think game two is really when the series starts because now we see what you do. Now we're making adjustments. Game one's like a filling out, and this in this particular game. I always say it's a make or miss league. If your shot not going in, theirs is. It's going to be a blowout. Okay, wipe that out. One thing that was different between the Minnesota and Denver game, see, Dallas, okay, they wasn't playing that game, and you can kind of see them accepting, okay, kind of moving on to game two. Denver, they was visibly frustrated. It's like that, Mr. Bennett, when you say gentleman sweep, I think that may be the only thing I may say, okay, because their frustration was just pouring over.
Yeah.
They had no more composure. I know we talked about how the coach got in the ref face, Murray throwing stuff on the court. They was constantly just bickering through the refs the whole game.
Right.
You can see their frustration. So it's one thing just to push this bad performance out of their mind, but you gotta get your composure back. Because if, like you say, they going back to Minnesota, and if the game starts out fast, because Denver, this whole postseason, they've been starting off kind of slow, because the Lakers have been having success first half against them. If they start out kind of fast, and Minnesota kind of do a first half run, normally Denver can, they always could be, they can make a 20-point deficit go away in a flash.
Not
but
against
because the way game two played out and how frustrated they were, if game three starts out fast for many, it just may revert them back. They just may frustrated again, and then who knows after that.
Yeah.
But if it's a back and forth game, I think Denver. That's one thing they can. If it's a back and forth game, Denver knows how to close. That means Jamal Murray, somebody's keeping them up, and then when the fourth quarter comes, that's Jamal Murray time.
Right.
But if it's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Charlie,
Trey,
that sounds good, but Minnesota's too young for them. They're going to keep that foot on their neck. They'll probably beat them in double digits the next game three. Jamal Murray should have been suspended.
I was just about to ask you that just before you came on. What you think? Was the fine enough, or should he have gotten a suspension?
Okay. The fine. Okay, you threw a towel. They overlooked that. They do something that could have potentially hurt somebody.
Correct.
So anybody else, it would have been a fine. And a suspension. But $100,000, give it to the United Negro College Fund or something. But
well, the thing about it, in March,
they
fined Rudy Gobert $100K for making the money sign towards the ref. Jamal Murray did the same thing in game two in the midst of all the throwing stuff in the court. So he did three things. Right. But those three things added up to $100K when Rudy Gobert in the regular season did that one thing and got $100K. Now, I'm pretty sure they looked at Murray's track record, which is clean. It's a playoff, so you really don't.
Don't everything start over in the playoffs?
Nah, because so I think you got with this particular punishment that Murray got, you got to look at all the context on him, because you already down 0-2. You take, if Murray's suspended for game three, that's a death knell to Denver. Yeah. And the NBA like, look, man, we don't want to chop your leg off like that. We just gonna fine you. You don't have a record of this. Let's move on. Cause that if he would have got suspended in game three,
because Denver was the favorite. Denver was the favorite going into the series.
But I'll tell you, I still think they can turn it around. All you gotta do is just make some shots. So they gotta make some shots. If any team can do it, it's that team.
So in 5. It's over. It's over.
I hear you. I hear you.
Well,
Trey, I
live
wanted
in
to
the
give you
moment.
some love at the beginning of the show. I want to lead off with, I know you had the Kentucky Derby this past weekend, and that's the one event that I'll watch. But don't ask me who's going to win or what. I guess there was an upset. Mystic Dan, 20-1 odds, won 3.1 million. There was an upset over Sierra Leone, who placed second at 3-1, and Fierceness finished 15th at 5-2 odds. So again, that's why I never bet on. I never pick a horse in a horse race, because you never know what's gonna happen. I don't even like doing it in auto racing, but let alone for an animal on the track. But I know you were talking about hanging out some of the festivities down there, so I want to kind of open that up, or if you want to.
I mean, the festivities, man, it's always too much, man. Listen, growing up here, hey, I can do without the Derby sometime because they block all the roads, send you one way in, one way out, and you can't get nowhere close near the track because the track is sort of centered in the middle of town.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of the city. So everybody's converging, especially like maybe about 4 o'clock, between 3 and 5 o'clock. You can't get nowhere near the track, And I did I always bet. I bet it twice on the race. The first time I bet, I won like $350. I spent like $10.
Nice.
Then about the year after, I bet like $10. I didn't win, but I always do like in my living room. Okay, who's gonna win, place, and show, right? And I never go with the favorite. It's always that 20-1, 12-1, stuff like in that range. I've always picked that range, and I had that horse to win. But I missed on the other two. And then when I saw it, I said, damn, I should have played about $5. But I've always done that ever since I've been, privy to the race. Now, the infield used to be the spot back in the day. A $30 ticket gets you in the infield, rain or shine. Right. But it's 1.25 miles, and the conditions of the track always weighs in on the horse. Some horses like muddy tracks, some horses like fast tracks, some horses like, a mixture. So, and the crowd is probably the largest crowds that those horses see at that moment. So some of them perform well, some don't. It was a black guy who was a trainer this year. He had a horse in the race. He was coming off from some cancer. So that's always interesting when when brothers get up to that stage. MC Hammer had a horse one time back in the
I remember that. Yeah, he bought like 33, I think, at 120. I thought he bought like 33 horses.
33 horses?
Yeah.
It's always.
He had that new money. He didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
none of them probably won either. He just wasted his money.
If you ever get a chance to come to the Derby, come. If you ever get a chance, because it's the who's who at that time is there. They never announce it, but they always seem to catch up with them at the track. Yeah. If you're willing to pay the money and get your.
So now tell me. So you're saying that the track is like in the middle of town. So they just have like weekly horse races. People just go on a weekly basis or daily basis at the track and just see the horses.
Yeah. Once the season starts, they'll just run it through the summer and night betting. And they'll just go like that. They've also just built a new sporting and betting facility downtown. So I don't know, man. They trying to do something. It's a college.
It sounds like a nice. It's like a nice date site if you want to take. Because I'm sure they got nice restaurants or stuff either at the track or in the area. So if you want to go for a night out and see it, so it seemed like that'd be a nice date to go.
Yeah, and down on the river, everything takes place down on the river. So if you're here in Kentucky in mid-April, they do the air and water show, and then they do the longest firework display in America It's about an hour and 30-minute long firework display.
Wow.
So they'll do the air show all day, and then about 9:30, quarter to 10 to midnight, they'll just light out fireworks, and everybody's down on the waterfront, a big lawn, and they got a baseball stadium, and everybody. And then it's close to Indiana, so they all cross the bridge looking at the whole thing. So it's probably 200,000-300,000 there.
Right.
And then it has a boat race on Thursday. And then they had the parade last Sunday. And then this past Saturday, they come with the race. And after the race, everything goes back to normal. But the parade used to be on Thursday. And when it was on Thursday, man, it was thousands. And they go about 3 miles long up the road walking. So I don't know what they're going to do.
I heard that. All right.
We have a local horse track over here in Grand Prairie. And I think they'll just be simulcasting the Derby when it's. I remember going to the one in Houston. They have one too. Well, it sounds like if they locking down streets over there, it sounds like what they were doing in Arlington when for Cowboy Stadium. Of course, when the Cowboys play or when they have a entertainer who's big enough to be in that stadium, like Beyonce, some popular country musician.
Garth Brooks.
I think Garth Brooks did come. Matter of fact, it was, and I didn't know. So when I used to live in Arlington, I stayed about 5 minutes from the stadium, but I was on the other side of the freeway, so I was just far enough from. I wasn't in the mess, and it was a random weekend, and I'm driving in the area, but everything was just locked up, and I see people going across the freeway like it was a Cowboys game. I'm like, Cowboys not playing today. But it was for a Garth Brooks concert, and they were locked down the street. You can't go nowhere. You can't get nowhere close. Yep. And it just, if you like Google Map that stadium, because they just like pretty much eliminated a whole neighborhood just to build it, because they was trying to get into Dallas, but they declined it for whatever reason. So they just threw it on in Arlington. And they'll literally lock that part of the city down. So it's just, when he was telling about how they did it for the Kentucky Derby, I'm like, I've been through that.
One way in, one way out. You got everything goes to the highway.
And traffic everywhere. So it's like, if you get in, you may not get out.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned, Garth Brooks, just as a side note, we can get back on the sports topic, but I know obviously Beyonce, I know she came out with her country record, and you're in the Houston area, or you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area?
I'm from the Houston area, but I'm in DFW now.
Okay, so but just in general, is that her album or her records? Are they being like well received? Are they playing it on air? Is it on the radio stations down there? Is it like gaining traction in that area? Because I know she's from Houston, I think. So I don't know what the reception has been. I'm on the East Coast. I don't know what's.
I imagine they are both Houston and DFW because of Beyonce.
Yeah.
But man, because I don't really pay attention to the new music. Now my wife would be a better person to ask. He follows.
Okay. Right.
I sent her. Apparently, there's a documentary on HBO Max about Beyonce, and I sent it over there. Her eyeballs lit up. But I only listen to sports radio. Man, I don't even listen to them radio because they play the same music, and I don't even know nothing but the new music. I just keep it on ESPN or maintaining the Mad Dog. So
it's amazing how when back in the day, I guess me and Trey Ferg, we grew up with that. So there was no streaming service or
exactly.
satellite radio.
I was always listening to hip hop and R&B, but
it was constantly whatever the urban radio station was in the area, you listen to the same song all day long.
Put the scan button on the radio, especially when I was traveling. You scan. You hope there'll be one as you were driving that be in the area that you were driving in. But now, I hear the same song over and over. It's a song that I most likely can't stand, or somehow they got a record deal. I don't know.
I hear you.
Turn to my sports. I won't be disappointed.
Gotcha. All right, so let's get back on top, and I guess the main topic for tonight. And again, I may be driving a bit more in this space. I was hoping my man Mandrell might be able to join me tonight, but he had to postpone last minute. So hopefully get him on a future show. But there's a lot of boxing news that's happened since our last show. I think you might have broken this, Shawnee. last week. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, there was a big fight with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. And as we were into the show, there was a report that came out that he had failed the drug test. And so that's certainly got a lot of people, talk about the situation, just to kind of fill in what's happened. So there was a drug test. There were 2 drug tests that were taken before the fight. One of those tests was actually done on the Friday of the fight. The results didn't come out until the Monday. So apparently there were 2 substances that he had failed for. One is called ostarine, which is a band selective androgen receptor, or SARMs. That's that a lot of athletes have used. And there was another substance called nandrolone, which is basically like a synthetic form of testosterone. So both of these were found in his first 2 tests. Then it got a little sideways over the last day or two, because there was a third test that was done. He still tested positive for the ostarine, but the nandrolone, and this is where the controversy is, a lot of people are reporting that he passed the nandrolone test, but technically what the test showed is that it was unconfirmed. So it's not to say that he passed or he didn't have it in the system. They just said it was unconfirmed. What's happening now is when they take your blood, they take 2 samples. All right. So again, the first 3 results was from his A sample. He has a B sample that you can request if he failed the first couple tests, which he did. He has until Monday, and I think he's already requested that they test his B sample going forward, but we may not get the results of the B sample until May 22nd. So again, but a lot of people are already saying or running with the story that, okay, no, he passed one of them, but again, one, he still had, the ostarine, which, just to give you some perspective, Amir Khan, who was a popular boxer in the early 2000s, in his last fight, he fought against Kell Brook in 2022. He lost the fight, TKO in the 6th round. He was banned for 2 years for using ostarine. And so, also added to that, we know how Ryan came into the fight. He intentionally came in almost 3.5 pounds overweight for the fight, which is a lot of weight when you're in the lower weight classes. So again, this fight was supposed to be for the 140-pound title, WBA 140-pound title. He came in at 143.2, which was already a violation. But from everything that was being told, he never intended to come in weight 4. He basically said, look, I'll pay you the $1.5 million, because the stipulation was it was $500,000 per pound that he comes in overweight. He was willing to do that. He bet a bunch of money on himself. I think he won like $12 million on himself in the fight. And obviously, he had a unanimous decision win over Devin Haney, knocking him down 3 times. So, certainly, in the aftermath of that, everyone was saying that he's now the face of boxing. And then again, those tests that were taken on Friday, the results came out this past Monday, last week. They came out last week, he's been shown to fail, like I said, on 2 of the substances. So at first he was denying it, everything outright, saying that he was he doesn't take supplements at all. So he doesn't know, saying it was lying. Then he was accusing that was a conspiracy. He thought the guy who worked with the VADA group, that which is the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, saying that they were on the take, and that they were advised by this guy Balco, who I think was helped Devin Haney in the past, but he has no association with VADA. So he's throwing out a ton of accusations about people, and then he turned around and he admitted that he was he was smoking some ashwagandha, or taking some ashwagandha during the fight, and he tried to blame the ostarine on that the ashwagandha that he had was laced with some of these substances. The company that he got his ashwagandha from They put out a statement saying, no, we don't have those kind of substances in our product. So they stepped away from that.
He left
So
him on the
so again,
island.
so now, the question is, I know his name is Ryan Garcia, but should we start calling him Lyin Garcia? Because he's been just hurling these things out. We know how erratic he was before the fight, in terms of his behavior, his antics, his accusations, his, very, very erratic. A lot of people weren't sure whether or not this was for show, or was this, was he really in some sort of mental duress? And, certainly, again, he didn't look like it at the net of the fight, but knowing that he was clearly the bigger, stronger guy coming in, like I said, Devin came in at the 140 limit, but he looked pretty sucked in. So, he might have done too much, try to get down the weight. I don't know if he can really handle the 140 pound. He might need to move up to 147. But all these things are on the table in terms. So right now, the big thing is if he fails his B test, then certainly he's going to go before the boards. And if he loses, at minimum, they'll certainly remove the win from his record and expunge the record from Devin Haney's record. Devin Haney, he's still the champion because, again, the fact that Ryan came in overweight,
yeah.
So he kept the title, but now they're looking to get the record expunged. And again, we could be talking potential suspension for the use. So what say you guys on this?
Well, has Haney responded to all this since the news of the? Has he responded in any way?
Haney responded. I mean, obviously he's disappointed, with it. Initially, he said he wasn't interested in a rematch with Ryan because of the antics, because of all the things he was saying, about the Muslim faith. I mean, he just went in on a lot of different things. And now with this failed test, certainly he's not, it's almost like he's saying, I don't know if he deserves a rematch. At this point, he would certainly like to get his record corrected, but certainly he's still in. I mean, he took a beating that night, so it may take him a while to figure out what he wants to do. I think he's definitely going to take some time off and reassess some things. But I don't know if he wanted to get in with Ryan. Again, thank you. So appreciate it. Appreciate the commentary. But yeah, you guys. Yeah, it's like you're going to have a full head of hair till you 80 years old. You're going to have a full head of hair, man.
Give about 3 more months and you're going to see even more. So I definitely won't be joining the coach.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, so that seems to be on the table. So, how do you guys feel about it? I felt that I need to, like I said, fill in those details. And, so what say you guys about the situation? What do you think should happen? Should he, especially if the B test comes back positive, how do you guys feel about that?
I think if stuff come back positive, then he needs to get punished. Now that means taking his win, removing everything from the fight. So be it. What I've been trying to really get at is whatever he was taking, did it actually give him that much of an advantage during a fight?
Mm-hmm.
Because now that it's been, especially if after this second test goes through, if that comes back positive, now you got a built-in excuse. Oh, you was taking PEDs or whatnot, so that's the reason why that's the excuse.
Right.
But for those who was really watching the fight, and from what I was hearing, I was like, especially because Haney was knocked down 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
So I'm like, did whatever he was taking, did it really impact the fight in that much? And and just to for those who don't know, as I'm watching the game, Jalen Brunson, he was taken out. So I think he hurt himself. So that's big in that game. So
yeah.
keep an eye on that.
The Pacers up 10 at the half. So
yeah. So, but that. Now, if it comes back positive, he gotta get the punishment. I mean, take away your win, expunge the fight as a whole from both fighters. It just doesn't exist. And
right.
you gotta take the extra penalties that come with it. You shouldn't have been doing that.
Right.
But I just can't go back. I'm just like, did it actually make that big of a difference while y'all two was actually in the ring? When you mentioned that Haney didn't want a rematch, I was like, maybe you don't want a rematch because he's like, man, I don't want to put myself in that position again. Maybe he kind of in his subconscious, Garcia may be a better fighter than he is.
Right.
Maybe he don't want to put himself in that because right now you got to build to an excuse if all this stuff comes back positive.
Right.
But if they say, okay, you take away everything now, y'all have a rematch, clean versus clean, will you be willing to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I guess in football, if somebody's really on steroids, it can, cause they just keep coming at you, keep coming at you, keep coming at you. So it's noticeable. It can definitely impact the game. But in this, I don't know how much of an impact those PEDs was given, how much of an advantage they gave Garcia.
Right.
You still the skills still have to show up. So that's the only thing that I'm curious about. If they say, okay, after the punishment and everything, now it's clean versus clean, y'all want a rematch. And if Haney like, I don't want a rematch now, I'm like, you did kind of get schooled a little bit during that fight, so maybe you don't want to have a chance of repeating that. You got a built-in excuse now. So now you're just going to avoid it. Right. I don't want to put myself in that way because we got a built-in excuse.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to say, okay, we had a rematch, and if he declined it or not.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to depend on what the commissions decide to do. If they give him, again, a 1-year suspension or longer, like I said with Amir Khan, he got a 2-year suspension for the use of the Ostarine. So, again, 2 years down the line, you're obviously going to be taking on different fights in that time. And like I said, more than likely, he's going to look to move up in weight as well because, like I said, I don't think he can handle the 140 if he's outgrown the division already. So, but Trey, what's your take on it? You've been in these, sporting arenas with, sports performances and whatnot. So what do you say about that, especially in the field of boxing? And the question on the table that Shawnee was asking, do these substances, do they help in terms of, performance and whatnot in the fight? So what's your take? You muted, brother. You muted. I think you're still muted, sir. Yeah,
but something wrong with your microphone.
Yeah, Dave, if you're in the back, if you can help him out. Yeah, still muting through. Okay, maybe if you go out and come back in, I'll just keep the conversation going until you come back.
They want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I definitely want to get his 2 cents if we can get it. I'm not sure what's going on with his
equipment just died on him.
With his mic, yeah. But I think the one thing about the substances, I don't know if it's necessarily about improving you, because you understand when you are in boxing, when you're cutting for a weight class, a lot of it is not so much what you're gaining from it, but a lot of it's also about what you're losing during the process. So like a lot of bodybuilders, one of the reasons why they're taking it is not so much yes, there are growth hormone compounds that guys take to get bigger, but a lot of times they also take substances as they're cutting down, as they're getting down to weight. They'll get on a lot of these substances in order to maintain what they have, maintain muscle mass, maintain power. Because when you're cutting, you're trying to lose fat and you're trying to lose water primarily, but you're not necessarily trying to lose muscle. And a lot of these anabolics, they help you to maintain muscle as you're losing weight, and so you just stay stronger in the process. So again, it might not be so much about getting stronger, but staying at least at your level. And like I keep saying, I mean, Devin, he kind of suffered to get down to that 140 pounds, whereas Ryan didn't. So those two things combined, it could certainly be something that could have factored in. Trey, you with us? Can you say something? No, he's still muted. Yeah, you
probably
can't hear you.
With your headphones and your PC, then.
Possibly. Yeah. Just keep working on it. See if we can come back into the conversation. But yeah, it definitely throws the 140 to 154 pound divisions. It throws a lot of that into chaos right now, because again, until folks know what's up with Ryan, there's a lot of potential fights that can be made. I mean, certainly coming out of this with his dominant win, people were saying he could very well be the face of boxing. I mean, certainly with his social media following and his with his charisma, he's a good looking guy. Certainly they were talking about, basically the world is his at this point in that division. They were talking about all the potential matchups that can happen at that, between 140 and 147, possibly even 154. So a lot of that's going to be up in the air right now until they figure out what's going on with the test. Again, we're not going to know for another week and a half, so we're just going to have to see how everything pans out. But it would almost be bittersweet in that you're coming off this great win and you're there. But a lot of it, what I'm also seeing out there, a lot of this depends on whether or not you're a Haney fan or you're a Garcia fan, or you hate one of the other.
That's really what all it boils down to. What side the fans are on. To me, I'm just neutral. So that's what I was coming to from the standpoint of how impactful were those, just the PEs. Now the weight for that both fighters had the journeys they both had to go through for them to make the weight. Now I think that is more impactful than the PEDs.
Right.
Just because one struggled and the other didn't.
Right.
That can be a huge reason. I say I don't want to, because he remembered what he had to go through, that, and that put him at a disadvantage. That makes more sense for me to be affecting the fight than.
Still can't hear you, brother.
Than the other one. But while Trey, I guess I don't know what happened to his PC. I think it's maybe something, the relationship between your headphones and your PC, more than the whole StreamYard app.
Right.
But while we on the boxing topic, I know I shared within the group. Now I don't know if these are just rumors, or this is something that fans have been clamoring for a while now, or if this what I'm reading is actually legit. But it was saying like the Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford is now being targeted for December.
Correct.
Is that a legit?
Yeah. Basically, Saudi Arabia in the last few years, they've really invested a lot into boxing, and so I guess the minister of sports and entertainment out there, he's really put the money out. He's got promoters who never would dare work together. He's got those guys working together, because he's basically saying
the same one somewhat involved with Live Golf, and I'm hearing like Saudi is really getting
the same country, but for the boxing, it's a specific individual. I forget, it's like His Excellency Sheikh something. I forget what his full name is, but for the boxing in particular, he's pretty much overseeing that. But Saudi's involved with the Live Golf, and again, the money seems to buy, because I remember initially, when Lib came on board, a lot of those PGA golfers were like, totally against it and whatnot, saying these guys are selling out, and then that money kept talking.
180 cents.
Exactly, and then they got on board with it. And like I said, with this promoter out there, he's definitely putting enough money out there so that rival promoters, all of a sudden now they're doing co-promotions and on the stage together and whatnot, because typically promoters tend to operate with their stables in so their own little isolated areas. So he's got those guys working, and obviously you have Tyson Fury is fighting towards the end of this month against Alexander Usyk, and also Terrence Crawford. He's also on one of the cards that's coming up as well. Again, also in Saudi Arabia. So that guy, he's a big fan of Crawford, and he's definitely willing to put up significant money to have Canelo fight. Now, keep in mind, Canelo typically fights twice a year, and he fights on very specific days. The one we just had was Cinco de Mayo weekend. He fights there, and then he also typically fights on Mexican Independence Day, and that's in September. So those are like his two main fight days. But this Saudi, he's willing to put up significant dollars to him to stage this fight. I'm not necessarily a fan of it. I mean, I think, obviously I think Crawford is very skilled at what he does, but Canelo has essentially been living off of smaller guys ever since he lost to Dimitri Bivol. He fought him a couple years ago. He moved up to 175 to challenge for his title, and he lost. And since then, all the guys he fights, he went back down to 168. And since then, all the guys he's fought are essentially guys that are coming from 154 or 160, moving up in weight to try to fight him. And that's been the issue in that, he's a tough guy. I mean, the guy he just fought this past weekend, he fought this guy, Jaime Munguia, this past weekend, and Munguia gave him basically everything that he had, especially early on. The first 3 or 4 rounds, he was tagging Canelo left and right, but he could not hurt him enough to have him come back. Every time he would throw something, Munguia would come back. And certainly since Munguia, he's not a big defensive fighter, he was kind of stood in front of Canelo. When Canelo landed, it just impacted him more. He knocked him down once, I believe it was like in the 4th round. He had a knockdown, and he kind of controlled the fight after that. Munguia would have his moments where he would throw some punches, but it's like, man, I'm hitting this guy with everything I got, and he's still standing. I mean, Canelo, he's a very tough fighter, and if you're thinking if he's weighing in at 168, he's probably fighting around 180, 185. And so he's a big guy, but all the guys he's fought of late have just been smaller guys. So Crawford would be the most experienced and the most skillful of the guys he's fought of late, but I still don't think you can make up for a guy going up essentially 3 weight classes to fight him. He'd have to go up to 154, 160, 168. That's 3 weight classes. He'd have to go up and try to fight him. And I'm not, at this point, if that fight materializes, I'll put more stock and trade into it. But I just don't see how anybody, just with the exception of the money, I don't see how he gets any credit for this. If he beats Crawford, they'll say he's a much bigger guy. If he loses to Crawford, then that's a stain on his legacy. But those seems to be the guys he's been. Bless you. That seems to be the guys he's been in the ring with as of late. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. But the promoter, he's very interested in the fight. They basically have an unlimited budget out there, so he's willing to put $100 million on the table to have those guys in the ring together. And certainly Crawford would certainly be up for that, because he only got his first payday in his last fight against Errol Spence. That was his first major pay. He was an ESPN Tuesday night fighter. All right, we can hear you now, Troy. He was a sort of a Tuesday night fights type of fighter for a long time. He was never a pay-per-view guy until he fought Spence, and now he's trying to cash in. So if someone's going to give him $100 million, yeah, he's certainly going to be willing to go up and compete at a much higher weight class. But Troy, I just want to get you back in here. Let's just go back a little bit, talk about the Ryan Garcia situation on your view of the roids and yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I'm an old school guy. I believe in putting in the training, putting in the hard work without any extra. Now, Sean, you say, could that have had an effect on the fight? I say it like this. I show up a little bit heavier than I am, and you're 2 times bigger than me, but I seem to have more power than you in that fight, and you lose the fight. And now the results come back that are positive, because you would be like, the hell with that. He cheated. And that's what they do. It's just unfortunate. I think,
Well, that's the thing I was getting at, Trey. You be pissed off about the fight because he cheated.
But I think it gave him a slight advantage, though, because the punches that probably would have hurt him before didn't hurt him once he had that little extra.
So should he accept a rematch then? If you feel like he cheated on that fight, would you get a rematch?
He don't have to get a rematch, but he don't have to accept a rematch now.
He's gonna hide behind the.
Yeah, he's gonna do it. He gonna do it. He gonna do it because now he knows. Okay, because the other fighter going to have to prove something because he's going to have another fight anyway. Mm-hmm. And if he could prove that, then I can see saying, okay, let's have a rematch. But the fact that you just beat me, you cheated for the win. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, oh, well, I ain't got to fight you. I can move on, give me some more paydays going forward. But it's just unfortunate, especially today's time, man. You know, these guys know what they're doing. There's no excuse. You can't take that stuff. Just train hard and hope it's your best day. You know, hope it's your best day. Shit. What if Tyson took some steroids and knocked a boy through the ring? What they gonna say, man? He shouldn't have took it. I'm just saying, don't cheat. Don't cheat the game because you know boxing is one of those mono sports. So just train for it.
But it always seems also with boxing too, it's like it's almost unbearable now. It's like, you know, you take 2 steps forward, but then you take 1 step back because, you know, you try to get on good fights. I mean, you had, you know, the build up to this fight was very good. I don't know if people were expecting the outcome that they did. You know, you just had Canelo had a big win. And again, it was an entertaining fight. It's just that the guy, even though he was taller than Canelo, Canelo's built like a tank. So like I said, he's hitting him with these shots, and he's like, "Is that all you got?" Essentially, he comes back with his own 1-2. So again, what that does to you psychologically as a fighter, I hit you with my best shot, and you still standing there, and I can't do anything else. I'm not a boxer. I'm not going to get on my toes and dance like Ali or whatever. So if I can't, you know, these are 2 Mexican warriors, and if I know you got a bigger gun than I do, then you know I don't know what you could do there. So. You know, definitely, you know, boxing, you know, there's a lot of good potential fights. We have a fight that's actually coming up this weekend on ESPN Plus. You have Vasily Lomachenko fighting George Kambosos in Australia. Again, Kambosos, he had an upset win over Teofimo Lopez to win the title. Then Devin Haney went to Australia, beat him twice. He's a rugged guy. He's going to be right in front of you. I'm picking Lomachenko to win that fight. But again, there's good action out there. You got like I said, the Tyson Fury fight with is coming up at the end of the month. So boxing, you know, there's you know a lot of potential good fights out there. You know, it seems like especially with the new money that's now available. Certainly, guys, it's easier to get guys into the fight, into the ring because you know these Saudis are willing to put up so much money to get these guys. They just want to see the guys fight. So look, we got to put 25 million, 50 million down here. Just get in the ring. And that's enticing a lot of guys to ultimately go over there and do put those fights on. So, you know, I hope that'd be helpful. But when you have a scandal like this, you know, that constantly, you know, kind of tarnishes the sport, you know, certainly it makes it because, again, you know, you trading even football, you know, as much as you can take hits and whatnot. But in boxing, you're taking hits to vital organs, you know, the head shots, the liver shots, the whatever, you know, the kidney shots. I mean, you're taking, you know, I don't know if the human head was meant to be hit with those kind of punches, and so you know, so you got to be careful when you got these guys in there because people forget. I mean, every year you have a couple of boxers lose their lives in the ring. That's just a fact of the sport. They keep that on the hush. You don't hear about it much, but it does happen. So these guys, you know, really, when you then take the extra measures to cheat, assuming, you know, if people still want to give them the benefit of the doubt that the B test sample will come back positive, but it's not likely. That's another thing because the B sample is just more blood from the A sample. They just keep some of the stash on hand, so it's not like you're gonna, you know, unless he's hoping that, well, you know, maybe the quantity of whatever was in there, maybe it'll die off by the time they take the test or whatever. But you know, I don't know what the what the calculus is, but you know, the idea is, like I said, we won't know the results until the 22nd. As far as what those results are, but it's dangerous enough in the sport is basically what I'm trying to say. Then when you want to add those substances on it as well, and like I said, Shawnee, some of these drugs, they're not meant necessarily to make you stronger. It's meant to keep you at your same level of strength as you're cutting weight. So again, a bodybuilder, you know, they bulk up in the gym, and then once they get that contest diet, they start slimming down and getting ripped, and the abs start coming out, and the veins start popping out and whatnot. They still want to be strong when they get on the stage or, you know, actually, you know, to their competition weight. So a lot of times it's about keeping what you have more so than building on what you had, because you're already big, you already got the power and everything already. You just don't want to get weak when you start to cut down, trying to make these weights. I mean, some of these guys literally starve themselves to get down to weight for a fight, and then what they try to do then, they try to rehydrate, and a lot of times they'll put on 10, 15 pounds since the Friday weigh-in to the night of the fight. They'll put 10, 15 pounds on, but a lot of that's not muscle. A lot of that's just fluids and whatnot that they're putting back in. So even then, even though you rehydrate, it still might not be enough because you suck down so much. So, so again, I certainly think, those can certainly work to Ryan's advantage. But again, I'm willing to wait to see the results of the second sample. But I think if he is found positive in that for one, if not both substances, then I think it has to be somewhat severe, given his behavior before the fight, given his disregard for the weight limits at the day of the fight. I think it has to be severe. So if you're going to give Amir Khan that kind of suspension, I think he needs to take it too. Which again, it would be bad for boxing to an extent that he's a big star. He's got one of the biggest social media followers out there, and he definitely draws a lot of eyeballs to the fight, and then obviously a lot of money to the fight, to the purses and everything. So it would be a big loss. But I think you can't, you can't mess with that when guys are in such a dangerous competitive sport.
I'm looking up to see what's his Instagram following now.
Yeah, it's in the millions. It's definitely in the millions.
I don't know.
This Knicks game is topsy-turvy. Knicks have tied the game at 79 all with 7:28 left in the third, so they're going back and forth. So
Brunson came back. As soon as he came back, they was down by
that was the Larry Bird moment. Larry Bird coming in back against the Pacers, or the Willis Reed moment for you older guys. Remember Willis Reed coming back?
Because they was down double digits when he left, and since he came, right when he came back, they went on this run. Now they just like 79 all.
Yeah.
So if they go on to win this game, I remember somebody asked me the question, who would you rather have on your team, especially starting off your franchise, Jalen Brunson or Kyrie Irving? And me, I'm thinking I would probably go Jalen Brunson, because I've seen Kyrie. Kyrie is more talented and more skilled. But I've seen Kyrie. You don't get to, like, what Jalen Brunson is doing right now. He doesn't have that, because people may not even consider him a star. His name is growing now. You make your name in the playoffs. But he doesn't have that superstar teammate.
Right.
So it says Jalen Brunson and some role players. Well, Kyrie, when he was like that, he wasn't winning.
Yeah.
And last time he was like that, that's when he was, his rookie times with Cleveland, where they had another first-round overall pick, which was later traded to get Kevin Love.
Right.
But even when he went to Boston, and it's like the only time he really had success is when he was teamed with a future Hall of Famer. I guess you could pretty much say Luka Doncic. The way his career going, it's safe to say that.
Yeah.
But he needs to be paired with another player of his caliber.
Right.
Because I guess that will keep it going. You also got to worry about Kyrie. Something can happen in the world, and it will take Kyrie's attention. And then you're going to have to deal with some other stuff. But with Jalen Brunson, this dude, man, he's still scoring. He's a closer in games.
Yeah. Well, that's how I think I asked you a little while ago about. I mean, you guys had Brunson, but Dallas had Brunson for a while, and I don't think anybody could see this. I mean, he was talented.
They wasn't using.
They saw it.
Yeah,
they saw it. They saw it. He just, Luka he's just that type of guy. And
it's almost to the point now. You need to ask the question: should you have gone with built the team around Brunson or Luka? I mean, Luka.
We
got to see where they wind up, because again,
Luka,
you
build that team around Luka.
I think even Bronson because you remember when Bronson, I think, was drafted, Rick Carlisle was the Mavericks coach. Carlisle wasn't playing them. I don't think Carlisle really played younger players. And then, I believe Bronson was not Bronson in Dallas the way he is in New York right now. And then, of course, when Luka, he's backing up Luka. It's just the way they run their offense because pretty much since they have Luka dribbles out the ball, then he goes find he finds the open shooter. Bronson, he can play like that, but with New York, it's more of a system. But he is the point guard, so he will have the ball in his hands, but it's not like he doesn't dribble the ball out like Luka do. So it's just a different style than Dallas. It didn't, and I know people saying he wasn't going to re-sign back to Dallas because he wanted to go back to New York. He's from New York.
He wanted to start.
So
he wanted to start. He would have went anywhere and started. He wanted to start.
No, he wanted to go to New York because remember his dad is on the staff.
But what I'm saying is New York just came at him with that money. He would have went anywhere if he was going to start. He's a starter, and that's the thing. He can't. I don't understand sometimes how Dallas do their draft picks. They draft positions that they don't really need. And Luka, you got to think about it. He's 6'7", point guard. He can shoot. He's more of a shooting guard, and Brunson is more of a mixture. He's a distributor and a shooting guard. And Brunson was what, second round pick? So they're gonna go with Luka. Luka was in the, I don't know, it was a first round pick. I don't know what they picked. It was top 10.
But can you get over the top of Luka? If he can't do it with Kyrie, then okay.
You're gonna need another big man. See, New York has the size that Dallas doesn't. And that's the difference. New York has the size. And when they got
Dallas has size too now. Dallas but
they ain't got OG.
Lively and
those
Gafford.
Shit. We can get out there and score 65, 70 on those guys. But New York is about defense too. New York is tough defense. Jason Kidd is a point guard, so he's more point guard oriented. What's that? Tibbs, he's defense. And you can see the New York's team. It's more about defense first. Yeah. I'm anxious to see how what's his name? Randall fits in when he comes back because they're playing
stay healthy.
Team
he's had the health bug over the last few years. So I think they may need to look elsewhere going forward. But this game is definitely getting interesting. And
they're about 3-9. When I look at the whole Luka thing, like I say, as a Rockets fan, I've seen it already with Houston and Harden.
Yeah.
And that whole style, I mean, you hear Charles Barkley make comments about it. That whole style was just dribbling the ball out. Now he has Kyrie, so they can go, they take turns with each other. But the way, there's no movement, basically. They still don't have, it's not a movement style offense. Majority of these teams now that you're seeing having success, even these young teams, both New York, Indiana, Boston, Minnesota, they have ball movement and they have a player that can close, especially the Knicks and the Timberwolves. They have these players that can close, so when you mix that up, those are the better teams. Now, even Denver, even though they lost the first two, but they built like that as well. So these teams now with these main players, you just focus all your offense on that. As talented as Luka is, I remember a question was brought up early during the season: who would you rather have between Luka, Anthony Edwards, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? And me, I was like, I'm going back and forth between Edwards and Alexander because they have shown they can actually have success in an offense, a movement offense and all that, and deliver points like Luka.
Right.
Luka, if you don't give him the ball, he's not going to do nothing. And both of the other two are better defenders. So it's just like, as great as Luka is offensively, you sacrificing a whole lot of your offense if you get Luka. That's why many people at the time was not fans of James Harden game, and their games are very similar. And Mavericks fans, they don't like to hear that. I'll use Luka just like the Rockets use Harden.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's I just don't see Dallas really getting over the hump. Certainly not in the current configuration. So they might have to tear it down and build back up if in fact you want to have and it may come late. I mean, Dirk didn't get his ring until late in his career, but he had some really good defenders. He had some good role players, and they were certainly able to pull it off. But they may have to, like I said, rebuild his team. But that style, I just don't think can win the chip. They'll be a perennial playoff team. They can get even deep into the playoffs, but I don't know if they can get over the hump with the way they're currently configured. But in any event, we're all coming up on a quarter to the hour. I know we started a little bit late, but I think we covered all the topics that I think we wanted to cover out. So I think we could probably prepare for closing thoughts going forward. So, Shawnee, you want to kick us off, and again, hopefully we look to get Dante back on the show again. I know he's had some very positive life events, and certainly we're looking to get him back into the fold. But again, all the best to him and his family for the success that they're having. So, Shawnee, any final thoughts before we close this out?
My final thoughts, I'm going to shift over to the WNBA, in particular, Caitlin Clark, and the stuff I've been seeing online about, you see everybody's really comparing, or you're hearing complaints about how the WNBA is pushing already Clark and not Angel Reese, or especially with the preseason game, how the Fever game, they wasn't televised. I think it was televised on the WNBA subscription channel or something, but it's not like they was on TV. But the Sky, they weren't even on the channel at all. Right. So a lot of people was talking about that, and and sometimes I do get tired of it. I think a lot of people like to throw out the race card for everything now. To the point now, I believe at times now, unfortunately, it gets watered down when there's actually a real reason to throw it out. Because people, if it deals with a white player or a black player, they just so quick to throw it out, and they throwing out because the media is showing it's not fair how they depicting Clark and not showing players like Reese or even Cordova and her teammate. Hey, they're on the same team.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, well, one, Clark is the number one overall draft pick. She's going to get the attention. Her style of play brings the attention. Hell, you look at the NBA now. They all talk about from this rookie class, Wemby, number 2 overall pick. Who was it? Brandon Miller. Have you heard any news on him talking? Nobody. Both teams was not winning games, but you only saw games national TV for Victor Wembanyama. Brandon Miller, you damn near forgot he was playing for Charlotte.
Right.
So it's just like they do it on the NBA side as well. But if you're the number 1 overall pick and you come with attention, the media going to follow. The media follow attention, and it's not like Clark is not deserving of it. Hell, she is the all-time NCAA leading scorer. Her style of play brings the excitement, just like how Steph did when he really came to the scene. It just brings the excitement. So I'm like, the reason she's getting attention because her style of play, it brings it. I mean, everybody is going to benefit from it if they. And the final thing I got is a lot of the people who are really complaining about that now. I bring up, okay, if it's really about a race thing, and I heard some people brought up the fact that Clark didn't win a championship in college. I said, okay, well, you have a player in Breanna Stewart. She's a 4-time NCAA champion. She already been playing in WNBA. She won all 4 of her years at UConn. When have you ever seen her get the attention like Clark do? They both of the same hue, I say, but even she don't get the attention. It's like, and even when she did accomplish those in college, and she had some success at the pro level as well, those same folks who are talking today were the same ones who were basically disrespecting the WNBA just 2 years ago. You've never really heard, every time you hear about the WNBA, it's always at the butt of somebody's joke. But now all of a sudden everybody want to, act like that they wasn't supporting the WNBA when they had a 4 consecutive championships with the Comets. Like I said, you currently have a 2-time MVP. She's a 2-time champion and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. And Asia Wilson, nobody even care about that when it comes to WNBA. All you hear about the WNBA is people just throwing shade on the league. But now here comes Clark, and she's bringing this attention. Now all of a sudden, folks want to, cry. It's uneven between her and Reeves, and I'm like, okay, now everybody expert now on WNBA. When them same people, y'all was throwing bombs on it 2 years ago. I was like, okay. So that's my little rant about it. I mean, I don't mind, because I always say, a rising tide raises all ships.
Right.
That's Clark. Take advantage of it. It's going to help everybody. Yeah, but even people just don't look at it like that. They just saying like, I'm like, yeah, if she brings eyeballs, let the eyeballs come. Then everybody can see your product, and then hell, it was a viral clip of her walking through the preseason game. It was here in Dallas. When she was walking through the airport, everybody taking pictures of it. It was like a real scene because she was going through commercial airlines. Yeah, because of that, now they finally all the teams got charter flights now. So yeah, if it came at her expense, now everybody benefited from it. Now you're gonna have charter flights. So that's my little thing on it, my little 2 cents about it.
No, I mean, and there is a historic precedent for it, because again, I go back to '79 with Bird and Magic when they came. Now again, maybe they need to build a rivalry coming in. So I was hoping that they would do just like they did back in the day, that commercial with Bird and Magic. Magic comes in the limousine in the cornfield in Indiana, and they play 1-on-1. I would have liked to see something like that, since the sister, she plays in Indiana. So I'm thinking they could have just ran that back and just take advantage of that. So
sometime
I think they should, But I think what also helped with that situation is winning. Because again, when Bird came into the league, Celtics won like 20-some games. They flipped around. They won 60 games his first year in the league. And Magic came in, essentially, he won pretty much came in 79. They won the championship in 80. So I think a lot of that potential is certainly there. But I think it's got to go beyond just the hype of them. It's got to result in wins, playoffs, and whatnot, so they can be seen. Just like, because again, we wouldn't have cared about these ladies unless they were in the Final Four. So so certainly winning is a component that will certainly help everybody. In addition to just who she is and the type of people who would root for her, I think everything has to come together. I think with Bird and Magic, everything came together at the right time. And CBS at the time, who just signed that TV deal to cover the NBA, they knew how to market it. And so all they did was feed you Bird Magic. It was they back then there were 2 games that came on. Celtic game was at 1 and the Laker game was at 4. And repeat. So that's all you saw was Celtics Lakers, and then a couple years later it paid off when they met in the '84 finals. So, and that was the biggest finals at the time, of all time. They brought it back to prime time. So I think that it's there to be had if they don't mess it up. But Trey, you want to go with your final thoughts?
Both of y'all missed the mark on this. Listen, just like Bird and Magic, right? Bird lost in the championship. You didn't hear about Bird until the NCAA tournament championship. Magic won the championship. They came into the league together. They marketed them both together.
Yeah.
Bird was in Boston. Magic was in LA. Angel Reese is in Chicago, 165 miles north of Indianapolis. They have to market them together because they missed the mark. They could have brought in a whole new audience with Angel Reese. Angel Reese is going to bring millions of colored people to the WNBA. But they missed that mark. And Caitlin is a great basketball player. She's going to get all of that on the court. She's deserving of that. As long as she can continue to shoot that ball, yes. But as far as branding the WNBA into the future, without Angel Reese being there, they're going to drop the ball. And that's why I believe.
But this is all from a preseason game, though.
But that's okay. But listen, that's where it starts in the preseason. Magic and Bird started in the preseason. That's where it's at. They're gonna have to find a way to make it up. Like I said, Indiana played. That's all they had to do is show the game. Indiana played before Chicago. Just show the game. That's all it is. That's all people was mad at. Just show the game. Now, in the regular season, it could be a whole different animal. Clark's eye might, her shot may start missing, and then what? But to cut out the rookies in the WNBA this year and going forward into the future, the WNBA missed the mark, and they knew exactly what they was doing. Angel Reese got the best of her in college, and now they're going to reward Clark, and she's deserving of all of the things that she gets, all of the endorsements. But as far as branding the WNBA going to the future, they've lost millions of colored fans, and it's going to show in the regular season when ain't nobody watching that shit and everybody's outside, but they only watching Angel Reese because Angel Reese has a following.
Then basically, it's just to me that is fake outrage. Then if you gonna complain about something and then they end up doing it, which I believe they are changing something about the Chicago Sky being on TV. So,
but it's not about them being on TV.
It's about them having their games being. That's why everybody was pissed off that because they couldn't.
But that's all we get. That's all they have though. See, that's all some people can relate to is the game, but the marketing of it. Like we said, Bird and Magic came in. Now, when have you heard of a guy on a losing team being marketed as one of the greats coming into the league? Never. Bird and Magic changed that dynamic, and that could have been. They could have just did the same commercials as Bird and Magic did.
Yeah, like I said, that would have been.
It would have brought a whole new generation of.
That would have been a perfect way to introduce it, and the fact that they are rival, in rival states, right next to each other.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been. That would have been the. Yeah, we don't disagree, Trey. That's why I used the Bird and Magic example. That again, the fact they were marketed together. I don't know if you can do it just with one player. I think you need both of them and build on that energy that they came into the league with. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because what are you going to do? Like Indiana, they still a young team. They could win 3 games, and then where's Clark's following going to be then? But if those two together, because it's a lot of good rookies that came in, but those two could have sort of took it to another stratosphere as far as the WNBA's future. I think they need to find a way to sort of fix it and bring it all together. But this is the preseason, so hopefully,
that's my thing.
When that regular season comes,
they still have time to do this. That's why it's only one preseason game. Maybe they didn't think about that, but now
they thought about it. Yeah. They thought about it.
They obviously see it now because of the pushback. But like I say, this is just preseason. Let the regular season come.
Shani, those schedules are placed a year and a half in advance down there. They know when this is coming. They know when the games are coming.
Well, if it's a year and a half in advance, they didn't know the rivalry between Reese and Clark was going to be.
But they already seen it from college. They already seen it from college, and they wasn't really expecting this type of pushback.
You're free to make adjustments. Just because you come out with the schedule a year in advance, you can read the trade winds and see
when they actually play in the regular season.
They got to actually listen. This age of sensitivity and social media and all over this news stuff, they should have. They understand that though. They understand that. That's why they market things a certain way. But they missed an opportunity to build the WNBA. It's already low attendance. You know how many sisters would have showed up to watch Angel Reese and her hair flying around, and just because she's Angel Reese, they lost. I'm telling you, the WNBA they're gonna see it. They're gonna come back and apologize, but they messed up. I'm telling
you. If that were to happen to me, then all this is just fake outrage, man. Because I'm like, if you make noise for something didn't happen, and then they make the correction, okay, then what's your excuse then? And so it's just like, okay, if they heard that and they corrected that, then go support the product. Then if you gonna say, nah, y'all didn't do it the first time. I'm like, man, then move on. Then you just crying wolf now, and I don't understand that, So,
all right. Well, I think we've chopped this one up. Obviously, as we get closer to the season, maybe we can certainly bring this back up, and hopefully the NBA, NBA, WNBA, because I think it's in everyone's behalf. If the NBA is complaining about supporting the WNBA, then I think they need to get some of their people on this as well, and get the smartest people in regardless of the league in a room to figure out how can we really take advantage of this, because certainly the NBA overwhelmingly supports the WNBA, and certainly if they don't want to carry that burden, then it'd be good for them if they help the league grow. So to take your best and brightest and help grow the brand. But I think with that, I think we come to the end of the show. Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight, and again, hopefully we look forward to having a full staff in the next week or two, and looking forward to events again. Boxing over the weekend. Again, Lomachenko and Kambosos on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and again the week after we have the Fury Usyk fight, and then the fight card over the summer takes place. Hopefully we'll have a few more spots to discuss boxing. But again, thank you once again for joining us for the One-on-One Sports Show, and until next time, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys later. Take care.